Hey there! Welcome to episode 5 of the Active Bariatric Nutrition Podcast. I'm your host, Kim Terapelli. Today, I'm excited to chat all about backpacking nutrition with Owens Mayhew, a registered dietitian and backpacker with over 20 years of experience in the field of nutrition and in the backcountry. In 2017, she left her clinical dietitian career with dreams of through hiking the PCT and starting a business focused on backpacking nutrition. 5 years later, Backcountry Foodie is a thriving business, and she has subsequently section hiked the Appalachian Trail, Colorado Trail, Condor Trail, and through hiked the Oregon Coast Trail. That is amazing. Thank you so much for being here today, Erin.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I like I told you off, record or whatever, I'm not a hiker myself, and I get a lot of questions from bariatric athletes about nutrition for hiking. And what I love about it is that anybody really can hike because you can decide the distance and the day. And I think it's so interesting, and what you do is so helpful to learn about how to eat for hiking.
Yeah, that's why I do what I do, because anybody can hike. It's just going for a walk. It's a matter of like how intense you want your hike to be, how long you want it to be. It could be as short as 1.5 miles around the lake, and you're considered hiking. So I'm just here to help anybody get outside and enjoy the outdoors.
I love it. And a fellow dietitian, so I appreciate that too.
And
and all your knowledge. So
a lover of food.
Yep, absolutely. So can you tell us a little bit more about what got you interested in hiking and your journey into opening your business, the Backcountry Foodie?
That's actually kind of funny. I grew up in small town Kentucky where hiking wasn't something we did. So actually, I never had gone for a hike until after graduate school when I moved to Seattle, Washington. I was dating somebody at the time that was a backpacker. I really enjoyed being outside. And of course, being in the Pacific Northwest is absolutely beautiful. That's just one of the things you do. I mean, you get outside and enjoy the outdoors to get outside the city. So it wasn't until 2001 that I actually started hiking. So I was well into my early 20s that I started doing this. And then I was just a day hiker kind of thing, went out for a couple days. Kind of how I got into the backpacking portion is the same guy that I was dating at the time was a guy in the military. So he was like, let's go out. I've got my rucksack, I've got MREs. Let's do all these things. And I will never, ever forget my very first backpacking trip to this day. A newbie. I wore blue. If you're not new to backpacking, you may not know these things, but you don't wear cotton.
Good.
So
tip.
I wore blue jeans. I wore a long sleeve cotton t-shirt, cotton tights, leggings, which once they get wet, they just don't dry. And then you're cold. Right. And I was in the mountains. I had bought my very first backpack at REI garage sale when they had those at the time. It was probably for a 6'4", like 300-pound man. It was about half my size.
Sure.
And so it was enormous. I wore plastic mountaineering boots, which you don't wear mountaineering boots when you're going on a regular hiking trip. So it was an absolutely miserable experience, but I continued doing it for another 20 plus years because just being outside makes me so happy. So as part of that, just in my transition from learning how to backpack into becoming a thru hiker, there's a big difference in food is kind of where Backcountry Foodie came about. So like you were saying earlier, it wasn't until 2017 when I decided to up and quit my job because I had a midlife crisis. That I was like, okay, my mountain house that I'd been doing, those MREs from the military weren't going to work for 6 months at a time. I couldn't afford to pay for mountain house. I didn't like the salt in the mountain house. They just don't taste very good too. So there was just kind of all those things that led to me learning how to make my own food, which is what I ended up doing for my trip. And that just caught on. Being the dietitian, I was super focused on I need enough carbs, I need enough protein, I need to recover. I'd also been a long distance trail runner at the time. So nutrition was super important for me because I was already lean and mean and like having a hard time keeping weight on in my normal day, let alone hiking 10 to 12 hours for 5 months at a time.
Sure.
So that's where it came about too. And then just fast forward 5 years later, I have a full-fledged business. It's my full-time job. I have a cookbook, on my website. So it's a dream come true.
I love it.
From small town Kentucky girl that's never gone on a hike in her life to now this is my full-time job.
Fellow Midwesterner here, Illinois. So I know about like going for a hike was like taking a walk around my neighborhood. That was it. So
it's just not something we did.
No, totally. Awesome. So tell me more about, when you started hiking and I've heard stories from your other episodes that you've done on podcasts about how you were hiking and you would leave food in the hiking box where you could leave leftover food. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of what did you find that hikers needed that you were like, wow, this is what clicked and got me thinking about doing my own business?
Right. So what you're talking about, this was actually a funny story. They're called hiker boxes.
Okay.
So when you're a long distance hiker, you pack all your food for however many days stretch it is. And then once you get to that end stretch, there's what's called a hiker box. It's essentially like a plastic box or paper box, something, whatever you've not used, you dump it in the box. So anyone behind you can pick up from it. They're like, if you're sick and tired of eating oatmeal, you throw all your oatmeal in there, but maybe the person behind you is like, oh, I love oatmeal. So you'll trade it out kind of thing.
Sure.
So what I was finding is that people were sending me messages on Instagram, like, what are you leaving in your hiker box? Like, I'm really hungry for X or what have you. And in those meeting points too, I'd literally, being the nerd that I am, the dietitian, I would interview people. So how are you liking your food? Like, what are you missing? And those kind of things. So I was just finding that they were underpacking significantly calorie wise. They were underpacking protein wise. They were underpacking flavor. I mean, they were just getting so bored of the flavor, and they're like, I can't eat another Cliff Bar. I've already had like 300 of these already, kind of thing. So I ended up taking what I learned from interviewing literally throughout my trip to creating what I now call Ultralight meal planning, which is I've maximized every single bite of food, which I think works really well for the bariatric population. Totally. Because you get your carbs, protein, fat, everything in a teeny tiny amount of food, and all the calories you need. And part of that too is I'm an ultralight backpacker, meaning that I carry as little weight as possible. I'm in my 40s now, so I don't recover as well as I used to. So carrying less weight on my back feels a lot better overall. And one of those things you can do is reduce the weight of your food without reducing your calories and without reducing the carbs and the protein in there. So that's kind of, as I learned with time, that I've really fine-tuned my own style of meal planning and recipe development.
I love that, because obviously with bariatric hikers too, the volume of food is important, and that's going to go into, what you're able to pack and the weight of your pack. So obviously being as, efficient as possible in terms of what you're packing. And then of course for them, they can only eat certain amounts too. So it works out, win-win.
It works out. It just,
for sure.
It happened. I didn't realize it was going to be a thing, but it actually works out really well.
Yeah, for sure. Good. So tell me, what goes into planning the meals that you're going to pack on a longer hike? So when you're thinking about, okay, hey, I'm going to go hike, whatever the course is, does the terrain, does the elevation and the weather that you're going to be exposed to, does that kind of help you decide what you're going to pack for the trip?
That's why backpacking and hiking is so hard to plan for, because there are so many variables. Because no hike's the same and no hiker's the same.
Sure.
One hike would be very easy terrain on a hard packed trail. It could be in the summertime. You could be carrying very little on your backpack because you're not having to carry a lot of winter gear. You're not carrying crampons and ice axes and all those kind of things. So you take that into account. Altitude, your basal metabolic rate can increase by as much as 30% just by being at altitude without doing anything. So that's something that I found in my Colorado trail trip, that I need to pack extra calories just because of the elevation change. Then of course there's the weather. If you're cold and you're shivering, you're burning more calories. So there's all those variables that definitely play into a part of what you're going to eat for each trip. So I think the one size fits all approach of just throwing food in a bag is just a really bad idea. I learned the hard way by hitting the wall and being really grouchy. So.
Oh, darn it. And so that kind of goes into when you're looking at the weight of your food for your pack, you're thinking about that too, with each day you're planning ahead for what you're going to be packing. I remember seeing videos that you said you pretty much put each day in a bag, right? And you're just like, this is what I'm having for today. You know how many calories it is.
Yep. And that's what I've learned with time too. When I first started backpacking, I would just literally go to REI and be like, oh, that looks good. That looks good. That kind of thing. This looks good. And I throw it in a bag and then I hope for the best.
Sure.
I found that doesn't work very well. That I'm much better off just being organized, having a 24-hour supply in a bag, whether it's a Ziploc baggie or a produce bag or something, to keep it separated. So that way, this is what I need to eat today. If I haven't finished it by the end of the day, then I'm falling behind, kind of thing. And also just packing your backpack, it's a lot more efficient too, because I literally, in my bear bag, I'll have day number 5, day number 4, 3, 2, and then number 1 is out and about. So the other, I don't even get into my bear bag until I have to. Because I learned early on that dumping all the food in one bag was so much time consuming, because then you have to pull it all out, then you pack it all up, then you pull it out and pack it up. So having the 24 hours, just, you've eaten what you need to eat for the day. And then you can fine tune that too. If that's not enough, then you add more in. And then if you really want to fine tune the amount of weight in your backpack, is remember, okay, I ate breakfast at home, so I don't need to add the breakfast in that one. I'm going to eat dinner at home at the end, so I don't pack on a dinner. So you actually can even pull out a few extra pounds there just by doing those kind of changes.
Sure. Being kind of smart and planning ahead so you understand.
Just planning ahead kind of thing.
Yeah, good. And so before a hike, tell us a little bit about how you prep your, the recipes that you have on your website that are available for folks. Tell us kind of how you prep those, and maybe talk a little bit about the dehydration process or the rehydration when you're hiking. Can you talk a little bit about that?
And I might be a dietitian, but I'm a lazy cook.
Same.
I will be 100% honest. I'm a lazy cook. If it's not, and I'm a hungry hiker. I'm a hangry hiker, actually. So if it takes more than 5 minutes at home to make it, and more than 5 minutes when I'm hiking to prepare it and eat it, then it's probably not going to go with me. Just
Sure.
Because, like everybody, most of the people here, we work hard, we're tired, those kind of things. So that's one of the reasons why I design the recipes the way they are too, is because I want people to eat healthier, but feel like they can do that without having to go and buy a $15 meal off the shelf.
Sure.
So our recipes are primarily what I call dry ingredients based. Is you just go to your grocery store, if it's some couscous or quinoa or rice, whatever your base, chickpeas, whatever your base is going to be, it's a dry ingredient, dump it in the bag. Now, whatever your protein source is going to be, if it's like freeze-dried chicken, beef, or I don't know, texture vegetable protein, then you dump a little of that in, and then you got herbs and spices you dump in. If you want some Parmesan cheese, dump that in. So it's all just ingredients. Dump them in a bag, seal it up, and you're done. So the rehydration process on the trail, and two, I'm a lazy cook. I don't like to do dishes. So, and I don't even like to wait for a water to boil. So the recipes are actually designed just to need warm water.
Okay.
So you boil or bring water to not quite even a boil, and then dump it into your baggie, zip it up, and let it sit for 5 minutes or so, and then dinner's done. That's all you need to do. There's no cleaning dishes. There's none of that kind of stuff.
I love that.
I do have, for the people that really do enjoy like getting into the gourmet kind of things, I do have a few recipes that you make fresh, and then you dehydrate them whole, and then rehydrate them on the trail. But personally, I do only a handful of those a year because I like the ease of meal prep the other way so much better. But that is an option too if you want to make like a full meal dehydrated.
Sure. So, and that's, I think, honestly, I think most people probably, I would assume, would prefer the quicker thing because you've hiked all day, you want to, or whatever the distance that you've done, and you're ready to eat, you're hungry, and it's just, I want to make this quickly. And that kind of brings me to then, what type of equipment do you need to, basically prepare these meals, especially your recipes and so forth? What would a typical hiker need to pack with them?
That's, again, purely how gourmet do you want to get. I'm not gourmet. I like good food to taste gourmet, but I don't prepare gourmet. So I have, again, being an ultralight backpacker, I have a teeny tiny little pot that's 14 ounces, and I'll heat up 8 ounces of water in it, and that's all I need. That and a pot and a spoon is all I need. Or if you're a cold soaker or a no-cook kind of person, you don't even need hot food, then you don't even need the pot or your stove or your canister. So you can leave all that at home. You just need a spoon, add water to the bag or the container, whatever you're using for your food. And then it's ready in just a few minutes.
I love that. And so you just mentioned some of those cooking methods. So what are some of the different cooking methods, that you can use? There's the freezer bag, cold soaking, no cook meals. Can you just talk about what those are for people that aren't familiar?
So freezer bag cooking is literally just that. So the store-bought meals that you get are in actually Mylar bags, the little heavier duty bags, but you can actually use freezer bags that you would use, Ziploc freezer bags. There you can withstand boiling water, so you can actually just put the meal in there, like I mentioned, add the water to the bag, seal it up, and it's fine. You can stir it up.
Gotcha.
They tend to rehydrate better if you have an insulated cozy, if you want to kind of take it to the next step, especially if you're cooking in the winter. It's just like a little pouch that will keep the heat insulated a little bit better. So that's freezer bag cooking. You can also cook in the pot if you want to. If you're okay with taking the time and cleaning dishes, then you just put the meal in the pot, add water, stir, and cook and eat from the pot. If you'd rather not cook out of the plastic bag, then the cold soak is literally that. You just add water to the food and let it sit for a few hours. And foods that typically do well with cold soaking are like beans, pastas, anything with chia seeds in it needs to soak a little bit longer, like overnight oats kinds of things can soak. But the thing to keep in mind with that, I like to tell a lot of people about is remember food safety. Again, dietitian food safety police here.
Yes.
If it's meant to be refrigerated, it probably shouldn't be sitting out at 80 degrees in the summer for 6 hours kind of thing. So I like to keep that in mind with people, but most of our recipes can be rehydrated within an hour or so. So it's well within the food safety zone. And then the third one is even easier. The no cook is just add water, stir, and eat. There's no waiting at all. So a lot of those recipes I love hummus. So that's become one of my go-tos is just add a little water to hummus powder, stir it up, dip in some pita chips, off you go. I do a lot of meal replacement drinks, which I think is something unique that I'm not sure how many other people do. Is it literally has like 500 to 600 calories, 25 to 35 grams of protein, 60 to 90 grams of carb. I mean, everything you would need in a whole meal and 8 ounces of water and you're done. Again, lazy hiker. So when I'm tired, I just want to eat lunch. I just add water, shake it up, down the hatch, and off you go kind of thing. So
for sure. And I think that goes too. I know you've spoken before about how sometimes you can lose your appetite when you're hiking, and a meal replacement drink might be a good option, especially if you don't have much of an appetite, but you need to get those calories and protein into and carbs and fats to be able to continue moving. Can you talk about that a little bit about those experiences that you've had where you had no appetite and then what you used basically to help?
That's the only way I've survived as long as I did on the Colorado Trail. I lost my appetite. It's a 485-mile trail. I lost my appetite at mile 100 and continued until mile 305 with zero appetite. And I love to eat. That was so disappointed. I had made all this fantastic food for the entire trip and had zero interest in it. So luckily my husband, that's the time, we were actually living in our Sprinter van at the time. So I was fortunate to have him with me, that we would run into the store, get some Carnation instant breakfast, some PB2 powder, whole milk powder. And I just essentially left all my meals that I prepared behind and made these meal replacement drinks. And I drank breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I would eat maybe 1 bar a day and 1 bag of trail mix a day. But the rest of it, I didn't lose any weight. I never hit the wall. I recovered fine just because I was able to still get in my nutrition with zero appetite. So I really, really recommend those. And I actually keep one in my backpack at all times for emergency purposes.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's inevitable that you never know your trip's going to last longer than you think it's going to be, or you get lost, or, any of those kind of situations that happen, or the awful thing, you've made this fantastic meal, but it has a hole in the bag.
Oh, no.
And it goes like this all over the place, and then you don't have dinner. So you have a backup plan for just something like that happens.
Sure.
So I've really tried to kind of encourage people to think about using them just for that reason in itself.
Yeah. And I would just say for bariatric hikers too, I mean, obviously, even in that particularly the first year and sometimes beyond, their appetite is really suppressed. And so I do get that question a lot is, I just can't eat this. Is there something else I could use? And so I wanted to highlight that because I think those are a great idea. And obviously with the different recipes, people can manipulate that to have, different amount of protein. So maybe with a bariatric athlete, they lower a little bit of the fat or, depending upon what they need for carbs, but they can keep their protein up. It's easily adapted.
They're easily customizable. Essentially, my recipes are your starting point. And that's one of the things that I'm known about, because having the dietitian skills that I do is I have, if you're low sodium, here's a way to reduce the salt, or if you're low sugar, here's how you reduce this. If you're whatever, here's ideas for how to do that. So essentially, I have a base recipe with 6 other alternative options at the bottom of the screen that can really kind of situate your own special needs.
And you have dairy. I know you have dairy-free also, right? Because we get lactose intolerant. Yeah,
gluten-free,
absolutely.
Dairy-free, vegan, nut-free, low-sodium, bariatric. Now reflex-friendly too.
That's great. Well, that's awesome. No, that's awesome, because that's another issue, especially with sleeve patients. We can get a reflux. So great. No, that's so helpful. So that brings me then to the question, what are kind of some of your favorite recipes that you've developed for meals and snacks that you think would be appropriate maybe for a bariatric hiker?
And I don't know that I have any, because I have over 200 now. It's hard to pick one.
Sure.
I would say probably category-wise, I think our recipes that use like chickpeas in them, the ones that have the quinoa in them, I think do a really good job of getting, like I mentioned before, getting the carbs, the protein, and fat, everything all in like teeny tiny amounts. Our bean dips work really well. So I guess that's one of my favorites. My black bean dip is about a half a cup of bean dip. And I want to say it's like 500 or 600 calories, 25 grams of protein, like 40 or 50 grams of carbs, something like that.
Sure.
And you get one little packet of chips. So it's actually super teeny tiny. And then, of course, all the meal replacement drinks, I think, work really well, too.
Sure.
So, yeah, there's a couple ideas.
And like you mentioned like freeze dried, where do you get like freeze dried like chicken or, meat? That's just something that I'm curious about. Where do you even get that?
Freeze-dried chicken, probably the most popular is Mountain House. So you can get it, REI sells it. You can buy it on Amazon, any of those kind of things. The unfortunate thing about freeze-dried chicken, freeze-dried beef in general, is it's only good for a month after you open it. And you have to buy this enormous number 10 can, and it's really expensive. So that's something I talked to a lot of people about, is for shelf stability wise. You definitely want to have a vacuum sealer so you can suck the air back out and make it last a lot longer, because you're never going to use number 10 can within a season. At least most people won't.
Sure.
So it's kind of a big investment. So I've actually I love dehydrated tofu. So that's significantly cheaper, but you can still get the protein in that way. Home dehydrated ground beef works fairly well. It's only good for 30 days too. So there's some of these things, just protein, there's kind of not as shelf stable as some of the other ingredients.
Sure. And I remember hearing one time you mentioned yogurt in the baby section that you use. Can you talk about that? Because that's a good protein also.
I love baby yogurt.
Sounds good.
It's freeze-dried baby yogurt melts. They're made for toddlers. So they're the Gerber baby ones. There's a variety of other brands now that are out there. And I use them because you can grind them up in a coffee grinder or spice grinder into a powder. And you just add a tiny bit of water and it turns actually back into yogurt consistency. You can use them for smoothies. You can use them to thicken any other kinds of drinks. And you can use it for all kinds of things.
Sure.
And it's just an awesome way to add nutrition in for very little weight. It weighs next to nothing. They are expensive, unfortunately. But they're just an easy way to add in some nutrition with very little volume.
Right. Exactly. And would you say too, can people add, let's say they're making a recipe and they want to add in some protein, they can add a scoop of their, favorite protein, maybe unflavored, or, 'cause you said that your recipes are like a base and they can increase their protein based on what they need then, anytime. Is that right?
Right. Exactly. So, and I don't have a particular protein powder because they're so, everybody has their own flavor preferences,
right.
Whether it's pea protein, it's fairly gritty, all those kinds of things, but you could easily add in a scoop. Actually, I really like to use egg white powder as my protein source because there's no texture, no flavor. It weighs next to nothing, but it's just pure protein that you add in. So that's kind of my secret weapon in some of my lower protein meals that I need to boost it some, but not really have the taste of some kind of protein source in there. So that actually works really well. You can get that on Amazon. I think it's called Just Eggs.
Oh,
it's literally just egg whites.
Yeah. No, that's great. No, I love kind of learning where you can get them too, because it's just helpful to kind of where do I get dried egg whites,
Amazon.
Okay, perfect. Amazon for everything. Oh my gosh. I think I keep Amazon in business with the amount of deliveries we have at the house. Oh my gosh. So let's talk a little bit about fluids. So when you're hiking, especially, longer distances, first of all, what do you carry for your fluids? How do you track how much you're drinking? And maybe talk a little bit about recommendations for fluids for hikers.
So I'm, again, somebody that gets lost in what I'm doing and I forget to drink. So this is something that I really actually struggle with personally. I have to stay on top of. So I carry my water bottles on the outside of my backpack. I used to carry the bladder that was in, but I had no way of really monitoring how much was left in there. Either I would not drink enough or I would drink all of it and not realize it. And then I have a plan for where the next water stop is. So that's why I've transitioned to everything's on the outside. So I know exactly, and I have one right here that is easily accessible all the time. The others I have to take my backpack off and get, but at least I know they're there. I know the volume that I've gone through the day. And I drink on the hour, similar kind of thing with eating. That's just my easy way of, I keep my watch on, it's going. And then that way I plan to that's just kind of my cycle that I do to get through. Cause otherwise I forget how much. And then when lunch comes and I'm like, oh gosh, I haven't had enough. So then I'll try to really get quite a bit down at lunchtime. Right. But how much to drink really is depending upon your sweat rate. Just kind of general sports recommendations. Because everybody sweats differently. How salty your sweat is different too. So it's kind of fine tuning what works the best for you. I mean, obviously when you go home, you can easily weigh yourself and see if you've lost a lot of water weight through that, but that's not something you could do when you're backpacking.
No, right.
So I just try to drink as much as possible. Like I said, every hour I've at least had a half liter to a liter. If I'm just easy hiking, if it's a hot summer day, I'm going to have at least 1.5 liters to 2 liters probably an hour. So, and I'm not a super salty sweater. So, but there's other people that, really crusty. And you really need to think about it some more. So it's just kind of, I think, fine tuning with the days, what works the best for you.
And do you, besides water, is there any other, do you drink any electrolyte carbohydrate replacement beverages, or do you have a recipe, for that? What do you do to replace the electrolyte, the sodium particularly?
And to be honest, again, being the lazy cook, I don't like to wash dishes. So I actually do my best from getting my electrolytes from my food because I'm already packing my food. So I try to pack salty things. I try to pack plantain chips. So I'm getting some extra potassium. I'm trying to get the things that I'm already eating. I try to get, and I eat every 60 minutes or so. So I'm always getting something replaced every time. The reason why I say I'm a lazy hiker is that the drinks tend to get kind of sticky. In the screw top lids of, especially Gatorade powder, if you don't get it exactly in there right, then it kind of gets gummy. And I'm out there for months at a time, so it just kind of gets gross. And I like to follow leave no trace, so I don't like to take a lot of soap. I don't like to take a lot of those things to clean out my water bottles. So I try to get as much as I can through my food. If I do take a few tablets of the Noon tablets. Because they tend to not make a real mess. They're light. They don't take up a lot of space. So if I'm finding that I'm really falling behind and need something, then I'll take a tablet and put it into my water bottle that way and do it. But the other thing, again, being a lazy hiker, that's kind of funny. I say I'm a lazy hiker, but I hike 500 miles at a time.
I know. I was going to say, I don't think you're lazy. I think you are amazing.
Maybe I'm an efficient hiker. Maybe I should say it that way.
That's right. No, but I would fall in the same category as you because I do not like to cook and I just want it as easy as possible. And when it's time to eat, I want to eat and I want to keep going. Like type A, I guess we could say.
Yeah, that's I'm very type A. Well, similar kind of thing. So my hydration process is I don't even take the time to filter all the water. We were talking about keeping my water bottle here. I had the filter on top of my water bottle. Okay. So I'm filtering as I drink. So that what I was going to say is that if I'm going to take my Noon tablets, I need to have a separate container because all my water bottles are dirty all the time because I don't take the time to actually filter them out. So I usually actually won't even take the tablets unless I have my cold soap jar that has a lid that I can screw and do it that way.
Gotcha.
But going all the way back, I usually just try to eat as much of the salt and sodium and those kinds of things.
Sure.
Since I'm already packing it all.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I was just going to say, obviously with bariatric hikers, we kind of also have to address the issue of we can't just chug as much as possible at, one meal. They have to separate food and drink by 30 minutes. And I know it makes it more challenging to kind of strategize, making sure that we're sipping and then there'd be a time to have our meal. And then maybe the next hour we're, having some snacks perhaps. And then we're, because they do have to kind of separate here and there with the fluids. And that gets a little bit easier as time moves forward, but definitely just the reminder of sipping frequently throughout the hike and then as well as getting back to incorporating some snacks too, that you're getting that carbohydrate throughout can you talk a little bit about kind of what are some of those things that you mentioned that you eat kind of on the hour? What is kind of your schedule? Like, what do you aim for? How many meals do you do? Do you pack, set snacks or are you just kind of munching as you go? Can you talk about that a little bit?
And that's actually very personal preference too. Some people like to eat, I prefer larger meals because that's just how I eat normally. Other people prefer to not have to stop and make a lunch and that kind of thing. And I more prefer to snack all day long. It's totally fine. Whatever works the best for you. As long as you're getting your nutrition in, your energy levels even keel, you're getting your protein needs met. I think it's fine as long as you get it in by the end of the day. Personally, I really enjoy like having a solid breakfast. And I really recommend anybody at least having something in the morning. If you don't like to eat like a solid breakfast, at least have one of those drinks to get yourself going. So at least that way you're like well fueled as you're getting going in the morning. So I tend to, again, depending on the trip, if I'm getting up super early, I might just have a drink. So I can get going. If I've got a lazy morning, I might actually have a hot breakfast with a hot drink, that kind of thing. And then lunch, I typically don't like to get my stove out because I'm usually wanting to kind of get the mileage in and get going through the day. But I usually like to sit down and actually take time and enjoy lunch. So I'll have usually like a pasta salad or something, or like I was saying, the hummus or bean dips, some of those kind of like more cold soap kind of things. And then dinner, I love a hot dinner. So that actually, I will take the time to have it, as long as it's not raining like it did on the Appalachian Trail and you just feel like a drowned rat. But I typically will have a hot dinner. But because I tend to hike really long days, I'll start at 6 and end at like 7. That's a lot of hours in between meals. So I snack at least every 60 to 90 minutes through those. So it could be as many as like 6 snacks a day. 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon kind of thing. And again, that kind of depends on where I'm on the trail. Am I getting ready to do a big climb? I'm not going to want to sit and chew. Like I'm trying to breathe and chew and breathe and chew. That I might just have a handful of trail mix to kind of take a bite. Then I'll hike for a little while, take a bite, go for a while. So really and I plan around the trips like that. If I know those kinds of things are going to happen on the trip, then I plan my food accordingly. If I know it's going to be a really low key trip and I can sit by a lake and have a snack, then I might have something that's a little more preparation intensive, I guess you could say, than that kind of thing. So
what are some of the things that you just snack on when you're going out, just out of curiosity?
Because I'm so tired of eating bars, I make homemade trail mix.
Love it.
I just can't, and I'm kind of becoming more and more environmental friendly with time, that I realize how much plastic wrappers that I throw away, that I've done a lot of homemade trail mix. And I love our trail mixes because I usually I'm kind of a sweet and savory person. I like both at the same time. So that way with each bite, I know I'm getting a little bit of everything kind of thing. So that's just what's worked really well for me more recently, the last couple of years.
And what's so great about trail mix, like you said, like every bite, and that's why I always just appreciate your recipes. Every bite has carbohydrates, protein, and fat. And for bariatric hikers, that's so helpful because then it provides a more kind of consistent, sustained energy source for them that they'll tolerate better than just the sweet stuff, which a lot of times is just too much. And I assume, like you've said many times, you kind of, especially when you're out there for a long time, you get bored of eating the same thing. And so if it's just always sweet, 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 I would assume, that would be, annoying, or, you know what I mean? Like where you just kind of go, ugh, I can't eat this anymore. So I think, like you said, the sweet and the savory is such a nice mixture too. you're getting
Well,
a
and even the
blend.
texture. I mean, you get tired of like having mushy things all the time. So I like to have
Sure.
some crunchy things and mushy things and, that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I like that. And so do you have any advice that you could give to a bariatric, hiker, backpacker? Any advice that you think would be helpful for their nutrition, or as they're deciding, hey, I think I'm going to try this. What do you think maybe where they should start perhaps in terms of packing, thinking ahead for what they need to bring to eat?
The number one thing I want to say is like, don't give up, because I've had so many people reach out to me, say, I tried, I didn't have the energy, I felt bad, this and that. And they only tried maybe twice on a hike. And they're like, it's just not for me. I just say, don't give up, because it's not just because you're bariatric or backpacker. Nutrition for backpacking is hard.
Yep.
I mean, it's hard for anybody. So it's taken me 5 years to really fine tune what I'm doing, because every trail is so different. And one of the things I really recommend people doing just in general, not necessarily just bariatric, but to keep a record of what does work for you. Yep. Write down, this worked really well, or also write down, this was terrible this trip. So that way you can remember your next trip, I'm not going to do that again. Then that way, if you're starting out your normal daily calories and you're going on a trip, let's try maybe bump it up by 100 calories this trip, or whatever's comfortable for you, where you are in your bariatric journey, I guess you could say. And then you can see, was my energy level good? Yes. Okay. But I know I still need more because I want to hike a little bit longer the next trip. So you can kind of incrementally make some decisions based on what you feel like, what your body's telling you it can do, and that kind of thing. But the biggest thing, just don't give up.
Right.
Keep trying. Yeah. You can do it. I mean, it takes some time and some practice.
Absolutely. Trial and error, see what works, what tastes
good. It's a lot of trial and error.
For sure. Yeah. No, but I think all of the tips on, certain proteins and where to get them, I think that's helpful too, just because, folks that aren't going to, maybe they're not as familiar with how to make stuff, like they are going to look, hey, I know I have to have my protein, where can I get it? And I think that information that you shared today is so helpful, because it tells, we know exactly where we can get a lot of these things. Amazon, but also your grocery store.
I was going to say, that's actually, I have an entire handout. We have a bariatric masterclass, and one of the handouts is our grocery go-to list. Literally go down the grocery store aisles. You will be shocked at how much food is actually at the grocery store, and you don't have to go to Amazon. Yeah. You don't have to go to REI. You don't have to spend a ton of money. It's stuff that you already have in your pantry. It's just a matter of knowing like how to take those foods and put them into like a backpacking meal that is a little bit different thought process than you would for a normal meal at home.
Yeah, that makes sense. So can you tell us a little bit more about the Backcountry Foodie? Give us, a little bit more information about, what your services are, and then also the webinar or any other resources that you have for the bariatric hikers.
Okay, so Backcountry Foodie, we're at backcountryfoodie.com. We offer the recipes, which I've talked a lot about here. Like I said, we're at over 200 right now. Every month I add new ones. So it's kind of based on what am I doing at the time? What are other people doing at the time? So I'm always adding new ones, getting a lot of feedback from people of, I'm really struggling with X. So then, like I said, recently I just started doing this whole reflux friendly series. So I'll start adding those in. So we have that. We have a meal planner tool, and it's so amazing. It's an automated meal planner where you just drop in your favorite recipes, your favorite commercial foods. It tells you exactly how much calories, how much protein, carbs. It does all the math for you. So you're not having to have a pen and paper out, keeping all track of all that for you. It tells you how much it weighs. So if how much your food weighs is really important to you, it tells you how much water you need to make it. Because if let's say you're in Arizona and you have very little water, or where I live right now in California, the water's dried up. So I'm not going to pack something that needs like 3 liters of water when there's not that amount of water around. So it kind of tells you those things. And the other really cool thing is it creates shopping lists. So
great.
You pick out all the foods that you want to eat, and then it tells you exactly like to go to the grocery, you need 2 cups of oats, you need 2 tablespoons of this, all this kind of thing. So it's all automated for you. So that's our meal planner membership. And then we have our meal planner plus, which are all of our master classes. So we've got just backpacking food 101 basics. I have a whole class on how to not hit the wall. We have the bariatric master class, which is taught by a bariatric dietitian. Because I don't have that background. So actually I hired somebody. Amelia is amazing. Her class is really awesome. That she has backpacking experience and is a bariatric dietitian. So she has some really great tips in there in the class. If you're going to do anything at high altitude, we have a high altitude class. We have like all kinds of classes. And then we have nutrition coaching. So Amelia can do coaching, bariatric specific wise, if you want to have help with her. I do more of the meal planning kinds of things. If you're just like, just write my meal plans for me. That's the kind of thing that I do.
Sure.
So I'm happy. I love writing meal plans. Again, type A nerdy dietitian. I love doing it. So that I do that for people. And then most recently is I have a resupply service, meaning that if you're doing really long distance hikes, I make all the food in the boxes for you. and ship them to you and help you figure out what to put in your boxes and that kind of thing. So if you're a bariatric hiker and want to do the Appalachian Trail, like I can totally help you make that happen. So it's not something that's like off your potential list of things you can do. We can do that for sure. So we have a wide variety of things that we can do.
Awesome. And you said the website is?
Backcountryfoodie.com.
Okay. And then you're like Instagram and any other social media accounts that you're on?
Yep. So Instagram, same thing. Facebook, we have a Backcountry Foodie page. YouTube, I used to make more YouTube videos that you mentioned that you watched them. I wish I had time to make more, but I just haven't had time to. But we do have a YouTube channel. And that's really the best place to find us. I'm usually pretty active on Instagram and Facebook and posting things. We are fairly active on our blog right now. We're adding a lot of new material on our blog, so you can find a lot of articles there too.
Awesome. Oh, cool. Well, thank you so much. Sure. I so appreciate it. I'm just telling my audience, you guys, I'm like a low key fan. Like I don't even know how I came across you. I honestly, I think I talked to you right about it when I was thinking about opening up my own practice, and I had seen some of your things, and you and I started talking a little bit, and I was like, this is so interesting and cool. What a cool area to focus in on as a dietitian, but so helpful for people because hiking, we want to all just get out there and go for a walk. And then you realize, well, I want to do more and I don't know how to eat properly and hydrate properly so that I can do these types of things. And I just so appreciate all your expertise and all the information that you shared today.
Well, and I guess going all the way back to how this started too, is I just heard so many people saying that I went home because I lost too much weight, or I don't like to hike because I'm hungry all the time, or I don't like to hike because it was all food related. I was like, that's one thing that we can, we can take care of that shouldn't be a problem. Go home because you accidentally broke an ankle or you have a family emergency, those kinds of things that are out of your control. Right. Let those send you home. Don't let food keep you off the trail. For sure. A similar kind of thing. I had a patient come to me, or a bariatric guy come to me and saying like, I want to hike the Appalachian Trail, but I don't know how. And I was like, food, we got that part. So
handled.
Totally handled. We got it. So that's why I do what I do. And it actually truly is a dream job. I love doing what I do.
I love it. Well, thank you so much again. Everyone, give her a follow. Go check out her stuff. She's got so many great resources. I look at it all the time. I think it's great. I love your videos, all the things. So I appreciate your time today. And just want to remind everyone too that this podcast episode is also available on my YouTube channel. So you can watch the full episode as well on Active Bariatric Nutrition on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram at Active Bariatric, Facebook, and TikTok. And of course, if you want to learn more about my one-to-one bariatric nutrition coaching services, you can go to my website at www.activebariatricnutrition.com. And just thank you so much again for joining us today. I'm looking forward to talking to you again next week. Take care.